Kahani Bar brings you a cocktail of short stories in English and in Hindustani. I'm Nishant, and today's story is The Payday, written for you by Neerja K. I considered myself the luckiest man in the world. So did my friends and my colleagues. After all, I had managed to marry my childhood sweetheart just a few months back. We had grown up in the same neighborhood, playing together. Her laughter and giggles brightened my days. Her sweet doe eyes could fool you, but I could see the sparkle of mischief in them. There was never a dull moment when she was around. New ways of getting us in trouble were always cooking in that pretty head of hers. I had decided at the age of 10 that she was the only one for me. Life would be perfect with her. Or so I thought. Here I was today, having got what I had dreamed of, the envy of my friends. But she had changed, and I was bewildered at how much. Where was the fulfilled, silly troublemaker I fell in love with? I was baffled. Agreed, she had brought some kind of sanity into our chaotic household. Maybe it was the chaos that forced her to step up and take charge and become so controlling. My younger brother and I had been on our own since our parents had passed away a few years ago. She was overworked and grumpy all the time. We tried to help, but it was never good enough for the perfectionist that she had become. She had started to snap at me for no reason at all, but my brother got along very well with her. That was because he would do exactly as she asked and tried to follow her house rules to the letter. Deep in my heart, I knew why she was unhappy with me most of the time. But what could I do? I had been like this all my life. How the hell could I change overnight? I was different from the very beginning. We were far from rich, but I loathed the idea of being defined by our circumstances. It was like a box that trapped you, kept you down and poor forever. You had to change your mindset and attitude. Even as far back as my college days, I didn't want to wear the shroud of the humble background I came from. I didn't want it to be heavy around my ankles, holding me back from flying high and dreaming big. Fake it till you make it, they say. And I really believed I would make it one day. So, I took big swings and threw whatever little cash I had around with abandon. I had so much style and swagger, especially now that I had just managed to marry my childhood sweetheart. This was the time, if ever, to live large. But I knew deep down what an imposter I was being. Cash flowed like water downhill. It cost me a lot just to keep up appearances. My friends, colleagues, pretty much everyone I knew would hit me up when they were skint. The borrowed money seldom came back, but I got to play the big man. Such largesse, so much generosity. How much do you need? Yeah, sure, of course, no problem. Don't worry, give it back when you can. What are friends for? But naturally, my new bride was not very happy about this. Just last month, we had our first big fight on this account, and she was still upset. I knew she was right. Bless her, such an intelligent, practical, good woman. I was lucky to be married to her. But what could I do? I could never say no to a person in need, especially when they started with their sad stories. Also, to be brutally honest, I loved being loved and admired. And how many were lucky enough to have wives who also earned? My new bride was a teacher with a salary of 105 rupees, while my brother was still in college and looking for a part-time job. A double income in those days was unheard of, so I succumbed every time, either from pride or from a good heart or a bit of both. There was hardly anyone in the office who didn't owe me money. I had vowed many times not to lend any money to anyone anymore, but I kept failing. Now you know why my new bride was prickly like a porcupine of late. I always had my fingers crossed and my resolve strong to be able to keep this promise, especially on payday. Payday. These two beautiful words strung together ring so sweet in our ears, especially on payday. You can be a lowly clerk or a CEO. You can make a pittance or a fortune. You can earn in rupees or in dollars. None of that matters, because when, after a long month of working hard, the day you finally get paid arrives, it fills everyone with the same joy. The same feeling of being on top of the world, whether it's today or it was back then. I'm talking about way, way back, when salaries were paid in cash, because hardly anyone had a bank account, believe it or not. Even the government disbursed salaries in cash to the account section in every office. This made the head accountant of any office the most important person alive. Especially on payday, his power was absolute. He was even more important than the head of the organization. He was the one who kept an account of your wages, your arrears, or deductions. He knew everybody's worth and judged and treated them always with this secret in his pocket. It was like you were bare naked before him. He saw you for who you were, not who you pretend to be. And he knew his power was supreme on this day. He basked in it. In short, he was the one man who no one wanted to rub the wrong way. Not because he could siphon your dues away, but he could certainly delay them. And that spelled disaster if you had not managed your savings well to help you tide over any such delays. As you can see, it was like the medieval ages as far as financial transactions go. There were just 2 banks. Almost no one had bank accounts, so no direct transfers, no credit cards, and naturally none of this instant wire transfer stuff, Paytm, UPI, or Google Pay that we all have and take for granted today. But it wasn't all bad. It was a simpler time. Less complexity, less frazzle. There were hardly any debts and loans and interest rates. Salaries were modest, but things cost less too. And there was less to buy. You could be happy and live well if you did it within your means and found joy in small pleasures. Maybe I'm getting nostalgia bias, but I feel people were happier. But of course, there were bills to pay. Everyone from the landlord to the grocery guy and the milkman all buzzing like flies waiting for the first of the month. Everyone was in a ridiculous hurry. In fact, the scene outside the chief accountant's office always looked like people were thronging to see a Bollywood star. Necks craning, bodies jostling, mouths chattering, making plans, eyes glancing at watches impatiently as the serpentine queue edged forward slowly in the corridor. I was always the last one to enter the chief accountant's office. Did I mention that I hated to wait in the queue? It reeked of neediness and desperation. That was not at all a good look. I had an image to maintain after all. I would slide in there coolly just before closing time. He hated this. He would be exhausted and irritated after 3 straight hours of dealing with the throng, and he wanted to wind up his accounts and books and be done with every payout so he could wrap up and rush home. He would glare at me when I traipsed in like I didn't care. I loved to tease him, so I walked and talked extra slowly. It infuriated him. But this was my fun little way of getting back at him for troubling most of the staff members from time to time. I forgot to mention that office hours back then were 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. and strictly observed by one and all, unlike the non-stop emails, weekend meetings, and work-from-home madness of today. So, I walked into his office just 5 minutes to 5 on the evening of the 1st of February, 1950. Wishing his glare could set me on fire, he looked at the clock and then back at me. Technically, I was there before 5, so he could glare away but do nothing else. Mumbling under his breath, he took out a wad of 10 rupee notes and, opening the string that bound it, carefully counted 20 notes and meticulously tied the remaining bundle with the string. There were no rubber bands back then, you see. He carefully put it back in his drawer and took out the bundle of 1 rupee notes. He removed the string holding the bundle together and counted 5 notes. He repeated the same ritual of tying the remaining bundle of 1 rupee notes and putting it back in his drawer. I think he was deliberately doing it all in slow motion to give me a taste of my own medicine. But it didn't bother me. He then shut the drawer and locked it with one hand, while the other remained firmly over the notes he had counted out. I was asked to sign on the register against my name while he counted the notes one more time. Then, with a smirk on his face, he handed over the money to me as if he was doing me a great favor. I flicked my hair with steeze, took the money, didn't even count it, and with my signature cocky gait, I sauntered out of his office. I put 205 rupees, my 1 month salary, yes, you heard it right, my 1 month salary, in my overcoat pocket and walked through the long cold corridor that led to the exit. At the exit, I saw Qazir Muhammad, the peon, standing on one side. My heart sank. Is he going to ask me for another loan? I wondered. Oh no, please don't. You still have not paid back what you had borrowed 3 months back. I stepped out and the icy winter air hit me straight in the face. I squinted to avoid the icy wind shooting straight into my eyes and pretended to look at the other side. Qazir Muhammad fell in step with me. I ignored him, but he said, Sabji. Oh no, there he goes. I gave him a side glance. He had put his hand in the inner pocket of his worn-out tweed coat and pulled out 2 10-rupee notes from his pay packet and to my surprise, offered them to me. He said, without making eye contact, please keep this for now. I shall return the rest in small installments every month. I'm sorry for the delay, but I'm helpless. I felt ashamed of myself for trying to avoid him. My extended hand stopped halfway. Normally, I would have said, keep it, Qazir Muhammad. You can pay me later, but not today. I had to keep the promise I had made myself. So I took the money guiltily and thanking him, walked away briskly before I slipped and changed my mind. After all, it was my money he was returning. Now I was richer by 20 rupees. Qazir Muhammad went his way. There was fresh, crisp snow on the road, and more snowflakes were dancing down feverishly from the heavens. I was very well clad, thankfully. Plus, today I had the special warmth of the notes in my overcoat pocket. I put my gloved hand around the treasure in my pocket and felt the toasty glow of the money even through my glove as I walked homeward. Those were the days when most of the people walked to reach from one place to another. In summer, they could cycle or take tongas, kind of handsoms, or shikara boat ride down the river Jhelum, but not in the winters. Cycles and tongas were risky on icy roads, and shikaras were out of the question in the freezing weather. Mercifully, I didn't live very far from my office. A few months back, I would have walked straight to the coffee house or to Adu's, famous for its kebabs, but not now. My friends teased me all the time, but I always made a beeline for home right after the office. I preferred my beautiful wife's company and the feeling of being at home with her. She was prickly some days, but we still had an abundant supply of that magical newlywed love. She and my younger brother would be waiting for me with hot tea by the crackling fireplace. Just the thought made my feet wade through the snow quicker. I dusted off the snow from my shoulders and the cap from time to time and walked briskly. I was very happy that for once I had not given away any money and in fact had got some back. That would make my darling bride happy. I will give her these 20 rupees to splurge on something nice for herself. Yes, great idea, I applauded myself. I did some mental calculations and came to the conclusion that after paying all our monthly bills, we would have some left over. Perhaps we could even save enough for a couple of movie tickets this month. The day after was Sunday. Maybe we could go to Adu's for some kebabs, and then for a movie. There was an English movie running at the Regal Cinema. In about 20 minutes, I was home. The two of them were sitting in our bedroom with hot tea and snacks around the fireplace waiting for me. There were 2 rooms, a kitchen, and a very large covered veranda in this house. In the winter months, we would use our bedroom most of the time, just to save on firewood. The fireplace in the other bedroom would be lit only at night when my brother went to study and retire for the night. I dusted the snow off myself one last time, took off my shoes, and entered the room, beaming with a special confidence. The room was warm and orderly. I hung my overcoat on the peg near the door and announced, "This Sunday we shall go for a movie and kebabs." My brother said, "That would certainly be fun." My wife said nothing. She just smiled, but the smile didn't reach her eyes. She knew that it would mean a tighter budget thereafter. I dramatically pulled out 2 10-rupee notes from my pocket and with great pride handed them over to my wife. "What's this for?" she asked. "Qazir Muhammad has returned a part of his loan. You keep it and spend it on yourself." She gave me a knowing smile and said, "Oh, that's good. Thank you. But put it back in your pocket. I will take it later. You must give 10 rupees from this to your brother." My brother said quickly, "In that case, kebabs are on me." We all laughed, and I put the money back in the overcoat pocket along with the rest of the pay packet. I had won my bride's laughter back. The fireplace and the pay packet in my overcoat pocket cast a special glow on the celebrations that evening. That was the magic of payday. It was another matter that most of it would be gone in the morning. The milkman will be the first one to arrive, followed by the butcher, the grocery store wala, and so on. But that was tomorrow. For now, this evening, and right here before the fire, the three of us laughing, it was just perfect. My bride's laughter made me feel like a good man. Life felt right. I realized I was laughing too. Is this what bliss felt like? My efforts had paid off. She was not disappointed in me anymore, and I was determined to keep it that way. No more lending out money to others. It was not that difficult after all. The next morning, while I was still in a sweet, soft dream, a sudden shriek woke me up. I bolted upright in a disoriented panic. Where was the intruder? What was going on? I rubbed my eyes and quickly scanned the room. My wife was standing near the door, screaming non-stop and rubbing and dusting her hands vigorously. All the blood had drained from her rosy cheeks, and her large eyes had gotten even bigger with terror. With one leap from my bed, I was by her side. I held her and calmed her down. "What's the matter, sweetheart? What happened?" All she could do was point an incriminating finger at my overcoat that was hanging peacefully on the peg where I had left it the night before. When the words came, they tumbled over each other, and I could not understand a thing. She mumbled and sobbed while frantically dusting her fingers. "Honey, calm down and tell me what's happened. There's something in your pocket. Something..." Her mouth turned in disgust. "Soft and slimy." I moved to the overcoat to check for myself, but she yelled, "Wait, wear your gloves before you put your hand into the pocket." This made me a little nervous. However, being the man of the house, I had to deal with whatever was sitting with my pay packet in my overcoat pocket. I pulled on my gloves and hesitantly shoved my hand into my overcoat pocket. I could feel something moving. I grabbed it and pulled out my fist. She fearfully inched a step closer to get a look as I opened my hand. The suspense was unnecessary. It was nothing scary. There in my palm, we saw 3 or 4 newborn baby mice. They were pink and slimy. Their eyes were still closed. They wriggled in protest in the cozy bed of... Wait, what? Oh my god, what the hell? Finely chopped pieces of my pay packet? We stood there in utter shock. The mother mouse had found the best place to lay her litter, in my overcoat pocket. She had chewed every note into bits. While we slept peacefully, my pay packet was being pulverized to almost fine dust. I quickly dusted off my handful of baby mice on the newspaper that was lying by the bedside and nervously dug into my pocket again in the hope of finding some notes that might have been missed by the eager mother. But no, every time I brought out my hand, my fist was full of trash. That was my pay. Nothing was left of it. Not even Khaja Muhammad's 20 rupees. My style, my smile, our plans, the movie and the kebabs, it all went flying into the fireplace while the milkman waited outside and a stack of unpaid bills lay neatly clipped together on the dresser. Now I had no choice. I would have to, somehow or the other, collect all my money back from the people who owed me. How am I going to do that? Those were my thoughts on the morning after payday. My bride briskly asked me to clean up the mess and went out of the room. My brother had also joined us, hearing all the commotion. He said, "Leave it, Bhaiya. I will clean up the place." I stood in one place and let him take charge. I was apprehensive of what my bride was going to do next. The door to the room opened and my bride entered with a large tray full of hot bread, some fried eggs, butter, and some jam she had made the other day. She quietly set the tray on the low table that sat in the center of the room and without a word went out again. This time she came back with the steaming samovar of aromatic kava and 3 cups. After setting it on the table, she squatted on the carpet and looked up at both of us. She had a big smile on her face. "No kebabs after all, but I can serve you eggs and hot bread. How about that? Sit down, you two, before it gets cold. And you," she turned to me, "no need to change. You are great the way you are. This morning has taught me a huge lesson. What is ours will come to us no matter what, and what is not will not. Let's just enjoy being together, facing life together no matter how tough it seems. Real joy is being able to share what we have with our loved ones in good health." We all became highly emotional and held hands. Our bride was back, and so was the joy of being together. She said, I have my salary intact and some savings too. We'll survive. And I will go debt collecting. Don't worry, said I. The room again brightened with our laughter despite a tough month ahead. What a payday. This is Nishant signing off for now. Take good care of yourselves till we are back next week with another story.